does it take for someone? It's when they're ready. It's when they're
Hmm.
ready, and do they have a system? Because there's a whole lot of stuff that you can do. I don't deal with any woo woo ever. I don't deal with any kind of, I work with the laws of physics and the laws of energy. I could have, and I love this conversation. I love talking about how energy moves and E equals MC squared and the platonic solids and what they have to do with how you move and how you radiate. All those conversations are important, and I love having them. I don't ever.
Welcome to Connecting the Dots. I'm your host, Jessica Carice, and this space is a place where we talk about seemingly random topics, but in all actuality, they're connected together. And today we have a very special guest, Loa Blasucci. She is known as the reverse aging alchemist. She's also a nutritionist, an author, an energy medicine practitioner, a public speaker, and an etheric clairvoyant. Loa, thank you so much for being here. I'm very, very, very happy to have you here. And I'm very excited to jump into your background and how you even got into all these different areas.
Thank you, Jessica. It's great to be here. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. So let's dive in. How did Loa Blasucci grow up? I want to feel like I grew up with you. I want to hear all the details and, everything about your childhood and understand how you even got to where you are today.
Right, cool. I am the seventh born. I'm the seventh of eight children, and I really didn't even. I was already in the healing arts when I found out that what that means to be the seventh born. I didn't even know till someone mentioned it to me that over time, usually that seventh born child was the one who would have those interests or those abilities. And so I'm from a big family, born in Arizona, little kid playing barefoot on the blacktop that's about 500 degrees, just scalding the bottoms of your little feet. I grew up like that, swimming every day, always in the water because it's hot in Arizona. And I had just um, so much. There's always so much around me. Back in those days, I mean, I was born in 1958, so back in those days, it was just exploring every day. You'd wake up and explore. And my parents were really busy, and they had eight kids, so it was kind of like see ya in the morning and show up at dark. So it was just as fun as it could be. And then, I went away to college, and I raised my family in Los Angeles. I had moved to Los Angeles to work in entertainment as a makeup artist. I started when I was in college. I started working on the Donnie Marie show, and that was such an amazing, just learning ground. Back then, it was very different. Working in entertainment was very different than it is now. Now things can be, edited and recut and done digitally and all of that. Back then, to be on a set was a high stress, about as high stress as you could get for a gig, because you have all the players that are all being paid mega bucks per minute. And if something goes wrong, it's just catastrophic. I mean, this was like shooting stuff way back. It's very, like I said, it's different now. But it was such a high stress environment. I learned so much. I honestly feel that as an energy medicine practitioner, someone who works in that industry, it was the perfect training ground, because I was always reading energy. You had to do that. You had to be able to look at the actor in your chair just up close, just this far from your face, and you have to understand how they're feeling, what's going to be best for them, how to work with them, how to talk to them. And once you've done that, I did it for 35 years,
Oh,
you
wow.
learn a lot about people and about how they respond. And you could learn so much from just watching an actor, how they treat the crew, what they drink in the morning, how they express their stress or their come apart, their high speed come apart that they're about to have. You learn so much about how people handled stress. And that kind of, for me, was an important learning ground for doing what I do now, which is to help people manage their stress, because stress is what speeds up aging. So, at the very essence of all of it, learning to manage your emotion is how you in a nutshell, begin to slow that aging process down. So I did that for a long time. And then I segued out. I ran a wellness camp for women in Los Angeles. I didn't mean for it to be for women, but it has always been women that follow me and that come to wherever I am. And I kept field studies on that. And I was tracking emotion and measurements and body and how they feel. And I wrote my book because it was necessary. At that time, nobody was really talking about the connection you had with your mom or meditation or many things like that. And I really needed the book. So I wrote it as the handbook to the wellness camp. Then when I did that, I feel like Jessica, and maybe you feel like this too from what we talked about earlier, but the world is so full of light and dark. There's just so much. And right now, people that have certain abilities or skills or certain gifts when it comes to spirit or energy, they're really kind of coming to the forefront right now. Just because it's balance, it's keeping balance on the globe. And I've always known certain things as a child. I had experiences that I never really told anyone about because I didn't think they would believe me, and I didn't. And now I'm out about it now. I had experiences with angels as a child, and I had various things happen. But I always knew that I knew those things, but I didn't realize everyone else didn't until
Mm.
later. So now it's fine. I talk about it because I really don't mind if someone says she's lost her mind. That won't be the end of my world. It wouldn't bother me. So I'm out about those things. But and then just kind of learning about how I read energy. It started to be where I would meet someone at a party, or I would be parked at a crossing and somebody would cross the street in front of my car, and I would just instantly know that there something was struggling in the body, and I could see where it was. And if it was the liver, I knew exactly. The liver was the first thing that I could always know when that was happening for someone. I could tell when their liver was struggling. And I didn't ever tell anyone that. Who are you going to tell that to? Oh, that woman, she just, I mean, you just kind of, I didn't know why I knew, and I didn't know why I had those thoughts or feelings, but I just kept watching and kept learning and kept just trying to get in touch with with my own inner self, my own inner compass, and just kind of really listen and get clear on what it is I'm supposed to be doing. And that just kind of brings me to here. Was that a
Hmm.
long-winded way to go around the
No, I think it was a great, overall summary. And I have so many
oh, good?
questions because, especially so I want to know more about what it means to be the seventh child. But then I also want to know, like, so growing up in Arizona, I've heard, there's some vortexes there. So I've heard that
Yeah.
Arizona is a very, like, energetically dense place. Um,
Yes.
but was your family into the church, or what was, I guess, the spiritual or religious upbringing that took place in your
I
household?
had a very strict LDS upbringing, Mormon, and I was from a big family, and just a very nobody drank, nobody smoked. We went to church a lot. It was just this really nice flow of there was a lot of scripture reading, and it was a great way to grow up. I am very grateful for just the times when someone is just there to show you how to understand what you're taking in. And I feel like my dad was a very deep thinker. Oh my gosh, he would think and think, and he was an unusual guy too. He was kind of like the Calvin Klein of birds. He actually genetically engineered a bird that didn't exist before he was born. So there's like a
Oh, wow.
variety of bird on the planet now, and he would really think deeply about a lot of things, and you could always talk to him about something that was about as far out there as you could get, and it would have meaning for him. And that helped me. That helped me a lot because I knew that there were things kind of going on for me and around me that maybe wasn't everyone's case.
Oh, that's very, so you were able to explore these different avenues of yourself by talking with your dad. Is that
I was able to give them a place to live in my mind because
mm,
he wasn't judgmental about things. He was very interested in everything, and he knew something about people. All my life told me that is the smartest man I've ever known, and he just had that openness of his mind, and I think that helped me. Oh, and you were mentioning the vortex. Yes, Sedona is just, it's 90 minutes from my house, and that's since I've moved back to the desert. So now I hold retreats. I've taken guests on retreats all over Maui and Big Bear and Palm Springs and all over, you know. Um, but now I'm right here. So the retreats that I do now, it's awesome to be so close and be able to offer them in a vortex like Sedona. So yeah, my next one's in November, next November.
oh, so that one's going to be in Sedona.
It'll be in Sedona. Yeah. So, and the
Oh,
registration's open. I'm just saying.
that's cool. No, that's cool. That's cool because so one of the authors that my husband and I are into, he passed, but his name is Dr. David R. Hawkins, and he lived in Sedona, and I think he had like a lot of like seminars and stuff that took place in Sedona. So that's where I know more about like just the different, I guess, energy that's out there. So yeah, no, I actually am very interested. Very interested in your retreat.
Oh gosh, it's so much fun. It's just the best time. It's like sometimes you have to stop sawing and sharpen the saw. You just have to
Yeah.
take a minute and meet yourself.
Yeah. 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 So that's, you're very fortunate to basically have like that foundational support where you're able to just explore yourself and be free and not necessarily be told by someone, "Oh no, don't think like that," or "Oh no, you're just making stuff up in your mind." Like that's a very 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 like I can't even describe how fortunate you are to have that type of experience as a child, because I feel like I don't know if it maybe just like took out like a journey of self-doubt with some of the things you're experiencing. So like when you were exploring yourself energetically and you're just knowing these things, like I guess how how did you expand upon that, and how did that lead you to, you know, journeying into LA versus maybe like staying in Sedona, for example, or
Right.
staying in Puerto
Well, I didn't grow up in Sedona. That's always been, you know, a couple hours down the road. But
Arizona?
I,
Yeah.
you know, I work all the time and I meet all the time people who are going through exactly what you're talking about, having a really difficult time of letting go of what their teachers and influencers and parents and all the people around them taught them, told them it was a certain way. I mean, it could even be if you had a narcissistic parent, that child grows up as a people pleaser. That's real hard to let go of. That becomes an identity. It becomes wrapped in its emotion, wrapped in energy that is then held in the body. It's energetically there. And that's one of the things I like to work with women on is releasing somatized emotion. We're doing that at the retreat also, is being able to get that out of the body. And one of the most amazing, and I just recorded a video about this, one of the most amazing bonuses that you can get is that when you release an emotion, that just that, or when you practice energy, when you practice moving energy, the emotion will be clear just like the energy is. And when you practice releasing the emotion, the energy will be cleared just like the emotion is because they're so intertwined. And that's what up levels your vitality and your health and your immune system and everything about you. That's what truly reverses aging is you've got to be able to clear your field. And that's what makes what I'm talking about different from other people that are talking about reverse aging. They're talking about all kinds of supplements and things and all of that stuff. So, yeah, and I am hip on every bit of that. It's my job to know all of those treatments and things. But if you don't know how to manage your energy, you are missing a very huge piece, which makes all of that so much easier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, I have a question about like, okay, releasing energy or emotions that's been stored in your body. Based on your experience, how long does it take to, I guess on average, release 30 years of pent up emotion that a person couldn't release in a safe space?
I would say, based on my experience, that could run the gambit of somebody. Some people who are connected to source, maybe their crown chakra is more open, and they have more of a sense of that, and they're able to do it quickly. Whereas for someone who is just has not been allowed to feel anything or ever decide anything, or they're really here, they live in between the ears with repeating thoughts and anxiety, it may take them a little longer. But at the end of the day, and I honestly feel like, Jessica, I feel like it's kind of my job to be, the grown woman in the room. I'm 66 years old. I've been doing this a very long time. And I know there are a lot of people that want to help, and they're really good at, parroting information and saying things. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to balance and work with your own energy to be able to fully help someone else. So if you're ever trying to find an energy medicine practitioner to work with you and to help you, first of all, you have to connect energetically. You have to have a sense of, this, she understands me. Like when I speak, I feel like she gets me and I get her. You have to have that, and you have to have a rapport, just kind of like an energetic rapport where you feel comfortable. And if that person is in balance, then you've got a really good shot at getting things done. What is happening now, and I tell people to really watch for this, is you may meet someone who knows a lot about some things, but they may have a substance issue, or they hurt themselves, they have a self-esteem issue, or they have a weight issue, or they have a body whatever, whatever, whatever. When your energy is balanced and you're able then to help someone else with their energy, that's a connection that's made. So if I'm out of balance, I can only help that person so much. And that kind of goes to the question you were asking just a minute ago. How do you know when someone, how long does it take for someone? It's when they're ready. It's when they're
Mm-hmm.
ready, and do they have a system? Because there's a whole lot of stuff that you can do. I don't deal with any woo woo ever. I don't deal with any kind of, I work with the laws of physics and the laws of energy. I could have, and I love this conversation. I love talking about how energy moves, and E equals MC squared, and the platonic solids and what they have to do with how you move and how you radiate. All those conversations are important, and I love having them. I don't ever drop back into any kind of stuff. And I like to make that known. I feel like somebody's got to be the grown ass woman in the room, and I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, there is a lot of, there is a lot of, especially like what I find in social media. I'll dig into like my background for a little bit. So I would say I probably woke up, so to speak, last year June. I always journaled growing up. I felt that was, the
So
best.
helpful.
Yeah, I could really
Great.
process my thoughts. And try to figure out like what was going on with me. And so I was journaling last year, and I realized I was basically in an emotional like up and down cycle with my mom. And then I was Googling, and then I came across like uh, well, it was one of those threads. It was on Quora talking about children who are raised by a particular type of parent. And I basically saw my personality spelled out there. And I was basically shattered. I'm like, how is my whole entire personality described by some stranger on the internet. You know, like I would pride myself on being so strong, you know, I can get through anything. Like I suppress my emotions. I don't need to have my emotions type of thing. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh my God. So my personality is just all a survival mechanism. So I told my husband, I'm like, okay, I'm definitely going to do some deep digging inside. And there's a high chance my personality is going to switch, my identity is going to switch because who I thought I was just a survival mechanism. So I need to find who I really am. Right.
You are so wise to bring him in. To that, I think what you just said to your husband is brilliant and beautiful, because there can be an energetic shift, and there can be an emotional and personality shift. And if the one you love doesn't understand that, it can be a conflict. So by drawing him in like that, that's brilliant. You want him to go with you. You
Yeah.
want him to be receptive, because your energy will change, your resonance, your vibration will elevate, and it will be different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened.
I
Yeah.
see it all the time with people I'm working with. I had one client, for example, um, just while we were practicing her energy balance, and we were working on the meridian system. It had kind of, it was broken, and some of her chakras were shut down. We worked on that for a couple of months, and then all of a sudden the man of her dreams walks into her life. She's got this amazing man. She had given up. She was like, what? And her dream job drops in her lap. She gets a call. It's what she's always wanted. And sidebar, she's also lost 14 pounds without even trying. And so when you energetically bring things in order, that energy that keeps you alive and that moves through you every day, it will heal you in many, many ways. You don't have to know. The intelligence of your body knows. You just let it have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 It's so true. It's so true. Like, and that's why I ask you these questions about, you know, maybe how long it will take, or, you know, or the other question I had was even about healing, for example, because it's funny, things got super intense on my journey. I would say starting September, but like I've actually had more colds, like cold and random, like just being sick
Mm-hmm.
more than September until hopefully I'm done with it in May, because I got sick twice in May, more than I usually got sick like maybe once a year before. But it's like I've gotten more sick with more colds from September until up until this point than previously.
You know, there can be different reasons for that. There, and that would be like a whole long thing. You and I will have a little conversation. But what happens when someone begins an evolution, every part of them is going to change and become vulnerable, and all of the systems will handle it a little bit differently. The goal is to just keep balancing, keep practicing, keep your daily practice going, and it eases up the whole thing. And you know, since I'm a reverse aging specialist, women ask me all the time about menopause, and I honestly feel like I just energy practiced my way through it. I didn't have a rough time. I've had friends really suffer. I mean, I've had someone go from dry to it looked like they dropped into a swimming pool and been pulled out, just hair streaming, dripping. I've seen that happen right in front of my eyes. I know women have suffered with it. And just this one thing I'll say about that. You are so much more than what we can see. This part of you, this dense mass body part of you, it's not the whole you. You're about 8 or 9 feet across. If you put your arm out, your energy radiates outward. If you know how to manage that and manipulate that and contain it, that's a big word that I could talk a long time about, containing it. If you can do that, all of those things, they up level, they change. Your body is like, thank you, we got this. So if you're getting sick a lot. There are some things that we need to talk about and a couple of things to try. And I love that you're journaling. See, the thing, what that is, Jessica, that's awareness. I love that. I love when a woman comes to me and says, you know, I just love this. And and this happens often, you know, something's off and I don't know what it is.
Hmm.
Thank you. You feel it. That is your awareness. I get goosebumps right now. That's amazing. I love that. I'm like, I got you, girl. Here, we got a plan. We have a plan. And you saying to your husband, you know, what if my personality changes? That's awareness. That's huge awareness. I love when a client shows me that kind of awareness. I do one-on-one sessions all day long, and it does my heart so good when someone speaks like that because it's unusual.
Hmm.
So God bless you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I receive it. Thank you so much. So, my question for you, right? Like, how do you keep yourself balanced when working with so many different types of energies?
Oh, I got this. I got you. I have 4 children, and they're the 4 funniest people I've ever met, and the 4 most independent people I've ever met. Well, I had one year, I had my oldest son at the high school. My next son was at the was at the junior high. My daughter was at the elementary school, and my baby son, he wasn't a baby, he was just the caboose. He was at the elementary school. I had 4 schools, 4 master calendars, 4 things going on, 4 pickup times. I I got anxiety that year. I did. And I didn't like myself. I'm like, what? Why do you behave? What is, oh, it was awful. I was having moments of freaking out and just, I didn't want that. I didn't want that for anyone around me. I didn't want that for my kids. I didn't want them to have a mom that acted like that. I want my husband to have a wife that acted. I was like, what is this? And I feel like those moments taught me a lot of that feeling, that out of control feeling, that what in the actual fudge is going on here? I understand it now. There is an energetic resonance to it. And we all create our own energetic resonance. We deliver it. It radiates out. And it comes from our story and our history and our past and many things. There are a lot of things. How we eat, how we drink, how we feel. That is all in your resonance. And you have everything to do with that. So while we see you as this much, oh my gosh, we've got this to work with. And it's freaking amazing. It's incredible what you can do, the shifts that can happen for you. So never ever lose hope. Never. There you get the most beautiful life ever could be ahead of you, whoever is hearing my voice, just by understanding a few things and managing a few things.
So, how are you able to get out of that like version of yourself?
The anxiety version,
Yeah.
that crazy mom. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Well, the first thing, yeah, it wasn't overnight. The first thing was how I was saying, I don't want this. You have to
Mm-hmm.
recognize it. You have to own that behavior. I was like, it was too much. It was, yeah, it wasn't good. And
Mm-hmm.
I decided, whatever this is, and I kind of felt myself at a road. I felt like I could do this is probably like medicated, 50 pounds overweight, depressed, on the
Mm-hmm.
couch, does nothing but watch TV. Or there's this, I can freaking own this. I can stop this behavior. I can get a hold of myself. I can find some way to eat and to drink and to do and to exercise. And that's what I did. And I have been in deep, deep dive research my entire life. I read, my reading is the latest studies on everything. And people say, oh, have you read this novel? No, I don't. No. Sorry, but I have read this mountain of, it's really, but I love it. I love that information, and it helps me every day with those that I work with.
No, that's excellent. That's excellent because, I feel like there's so many people that want a change in their life. Like they may, let's say they identify like, I don't like feeling this way, or I want my life to look a certain way. But I feel like they have a hard time figuring out how to even go about it. So,
Mhm.
with the first thing you said was recognition, right?
Yeah.
So, just identifying, like, okay, I don't like feeling this anxiety. I don't like feeling the thoughts. I don't like feeling. And
Mhm.
then, so would you say at that point, you like whenever you felt, let's say, the anxiety creeping in, you had a, was it like, were you like observing your thoughts and you said, no, 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 you can't?
Yes. Yes,
Hmm.
here's the step. You recognize it. Like, wow, this is not who I am. This is chaos. I'm not ground. I don't feel connected. I don't You recognize that moment, whatever that is for you. And then see if you can follow it in. What is what am I Where is it in my body? Is it here? Is it over here? And is it is it a fear? Am I afraid of something? Am I regretting? Like, you have to get behind the emotion, go behind it again, find it in the body, and then forgive it.
Forgive it.
If
Huh.
you can do that, if you can connect with it on that level, and you can do it for yourself. I'm an etheric clairvoyant. That's just a fancy way to say that I read the body. So clients come to me, and my job is like putting together pieces of a puzzle. And I can see sometimes, oftentimes, what's going on in their body. And then I have their feelings in their words. And it's a matter of consolidating these things and getting an actual step by step plan to walk yourself out of that because of that. So it's different for everybody. You may have been brought up in some kind of way that made you feel small all the time. You weren't allowed to have your own confidence, or you may have been brought up in a environment that always scared you. You may have gotten so good at reading the room, like what's going to happen, who's going to yell, what am I, how do I be safe, that your energy is so out there that you don't know how to contain it and keep it here to heal you. So that empath, let me tell you, empaths, this is where people get mad at me. This is where they don't like Loa for a minute. Being an empath, yes, it's a gift, but you got to manage that gift or it will beat the crap out of you. It'll take you down into a puddle. Being an empath, it is a gift. You have a sense. You understand feelings and you see and you understand people. But that open second chakra, that's down low in the belly, that open second chakra, it'll be repeating thoughts and you'll feel burnout. Oh, burnout is a very common thing to happen for an empath. It just spent. And there are a lot of things that can happen, but when you learn, you keep that skill. Oh gosh, you keep that skill and you
Hmm.
learn to close up that second chakra. Now you have something special.
Yeah. Yeah. That, it's so funny. So so going back to what you mentioned about just knowing things. So I, I used to identify as being an empath. When I say used to, right? Because I looked at it as a gift, and I knew I was sensitive to people's emotions. And then when I went on my journey, going on my journey last year, I'm like, no, 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 no. I don't want to feel what people are feeling. I don't want to feel their negative emotion in my body because I'm attracting the same
Yeah,
thing that's going on with them.
exactly. I don't want anybody else's stuff. I'm dealing with my stuff. You're dealing with your stuff. And the more that we all know how to contain our energy, the better we will all get along. Because but then see, here's the argument. But we should have empathy. We should be empath. I would say no, we should have compassion. Because if you're compassionate, you retain your power. You can help, you can support them, you understand better. You're not lost in the emotion, crying, and they're crying. You have compassion. It's way more powerful. I root for that. So, and I know people they have very tender feelings about this conversation, but
Yeah. No, I mean, it's I think it's important because, going back to what you said, where you studied physics and you follow those principles. You know, with creating the life that you want to create, and I recently also got into, like, quantum physics, and people talk about the Schrodinger's equation, and awareness is that observation in the quantum space, right? So, and then there's also the piece where you have, like, the emotion behind it, and it should be gratitude and love should be, the primary drivers of creating the life that you want to create and receiving things from the universe. And when you're in a state, let's say it's anger, right? Let's say you're absorbing someone's anger and you get angry with them. You're still thinking about your life. You're still processing your life. You're still, you still have those type of functions going on in your mind, but now you have anger tapped into that. And then all of a sudden you start attracting things where you still get perpetually angry too, because you're being empathetic with your angry friend, trying to be there for them.
It's a
So,
magnetic signature. Yeah, the body is magnetic. Your brain is more electric. There's more of an electrical signal. It's like everyone is a beacon. That's how you connect to who it is that you like. But your emotion, what you feel in the body, that's got to draw. It's got to pull. So whatever you feel, you create more of that in the quantum field, because that energetic signature and that electronic signature, they're going to find a match, and that will be what's drawn to you. So, and so this is you've got to have a workaround for this, because you're like, well, sorry, but I've got feelings and I get mad and I get blah, blah, blah. Totally. I understand that. If you can realize that everything is your teacher, everything is there to show you something, it is there for your good, and the universe has your back. That brings you into a different vibration. That's a higher vibration. And we always want to vibrate from love, because that is how you manifest. But let's talk about those signatures for a second, because what the lowest vibration of all vibration, and this kind of surprises me, because when I first learned this, I might have thought, what vibrates lower than any other emotion? And you might say to yourself, well, rage, or what, anger? I don't know. No, it's shame. Shame is at the very bottom. It is the lowest vibrational signature. The next one up is guilt, and then they move up, and rage is somewhere up here. The highest vibration that you can feel, love, is, of course, way up there. But even higher than love is authenticity. And I think that right now, a lot of people are having a hard time being truly, truly authentic and real with themselves. And it can be difficult, especially in a world of social media. I'm on social media. I mean, I get it. Everybody's there with a picture and a thing and a thing. It can be hard to just remember who you are, or maybe find out who your true authentic self is, because that's the highest that you can possibly resonate. And I'm easy to find on social media if anybody's want. I'm Hey Loa, HEYLOA. So you guys can find me everywhere. I'm Hey Loa on Instagram. I'm Hey Loa _ on TikTok. I'm heyloa.com. You can always find me if you have questions.
Yeah. I love your Instagram. And it's really funny because I was literally watching the reel about empathy versus compassion today. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah. So it's
Did
so
it
funny to
irritate you?
think about it.
Did I irritate you in that video, or were you okay?
No, I loved it because I came to the same conclusion. I'm like, being empathetic is not it. It is not it, because I found myself being burnt out all the time. I found that I didn't have energy to work on the things that I would love to work on. Like, I'll give a small example. My husband, he's Russian. I've always wanted to learn Russian. We've been together 8.5 years. Always wanted to learn Russian. So now that I finally took back my energy, so I understand what you mean when you say, um, empaths, they have their energy out there. Because I would feel like when I'm involved with someone and they're just spewing something and they're trying to work themselves, like I would be the shoulder people would lean on. But I would feel like my energy is being sucked away from me. My energy is being sucked, and then I would feel their energy, and whatever they're
Mhm.
feeling, I could feel it in my gut. So it felt like an energy exchange, you know? And so
See,
then on top,
and you could
Mhm.
recognize that, and that's awesome. But what you described, Jessica, is you described your energy being sucked away. Sometimes for an empath, they invite that. Like for example, I was learning a lot about this particular element of energy medicine. And I was teaching at one of the premier gyms in Los Angeles at the time. I was teaching mind body yoga. And I walk in, and one of the girls that worked there, she was a maintenance girl. She's sitting at the front desk, and one of the yoga teachers is literally being cradled in her arms like a baby. And they're both crying and rocking, and there was nothing wrong. The one girl who was being cradled had just had a bad day. And so now we have this whole event of all this emotion, and there's tears. They both have it. And I walked in, and it's interesting how the universe brings you lessons when you need to clearly see them. This was like a very clear, it couldn't have been a better video for me, because it was the talk about the whole, both of them were empaths, and they were so locked in. They were literally locked onto each other, rocking. And so there, let's just say that there are a lot of different levels of that. So in your case, you're aware of where your energy goes, and you could feel that being drawn, whereas someone else who's not aware, all they know is that they have this emotion and you've got to get with me. So they could be drawing it to them and not even know. I haven't thought about
Mm-hmm.
that in a very long time. It was an interesting thing. I come walking in, there's weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth and rocking, and nothing had happened. Okay,
Wow.
see ya.
Yeah.
I gotta go teach.
Yeah, that's intense. That's very, very intense. Oh my goodness. Oh, yeah. So I think like what would be for those listening out there, what would be an example? Let's use that situation for example. What would be an example? That's clearly like the empaths just being deep empaths. What would compassion look like in that situation?
Compassion would mean that, oh, I've got to plug in here. Compassion would be a little bit, I'm not sure why I'm running low on battery, Jessica. For some reason, it's getting sucked out of me like an empath. So give me
Mhm.
1 second. Um, see what I did there? It's being sucked out of me like an empath. Compassion would, what compassion would look like in that situation would be for to not be sealed up in this to and from ball that's like locked in, where they just completely have exchanged all of those feelings back and forth. It would be for someone to say, can I help you? What can I get you? Someone to be right there, but to not get sucked in. And the thing is, you can never inflict a healing. You
Hmm.
can't. And so many people don't understand this. They want everyone to be happy and better, and they want to put that, you can't. People are in charge of their own energy, they are in charge of it. And I can give you the tools. I can work with you. I can clear your field in a remote session. I can totally do that. There are a lot of things that a good practitioner can really help you with. And at
Mhm.
the end of the day, that containment is going to come down to you.
Mm,
So
mhm.
basically, it would be you making sure that you had your central meridian closed, you had your field was contained, and you stand there and say compassionately, "Can I get you something? Can I get you a drink of water?" You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Can I get you something? Can I get a drink of water? What if they want to start venting to you?
This requires a level of skill and use of the English language in a very tender way when you can acknowledge someone. But when they begin to, when the spewing starts to happen, you got to make sure that you've closed up whatever, all of the gates, all of the filters that you have. And you have seven for sure, because each chakra radiates into a level of your auric field. So we know that those seven, you want to seal those up for sure. Make sure that your meridian is closed in the middle, and then use your words very carefully. And uh, and if you've been an empath, you have to remember that your healing is it's your growth and your path. And if there comes a time when you don't get to be the person doing the rocking or being the one rocked, instead you're going to stand at a distance and say something like, can I get you a drink of water? Or, all right, well, I'm going to keep really good thoughts for you. I'm going to come back. I've got to go teach my class, but I'll come back and make sure that you're okay. Kindness, you can offer kindness, but you can't, by rocking them, you can't heal it for them. You're just going to wind it up and just make it a bigger thing than it was.
Yeah. 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 That's what making it big. Yeah, I'm just like visualizing that situation because the girl, she had a bad day and then she's being rocked. That is
Yeah.
that's
And the thing was,
escalating.
it became everyone's business in the
Yeah.
gym, everyone there. They
Yeah.
all like, whoa. And do you know what I'm saying? That's what it does. It spins up. Now you've got all these people worried and terrified. What happened? Oh my. So now you've got all this energy, this whole thing happening throughout the whole gym. Do you see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Whip itself up and create more chaos.
Yeah. It's so funny you say that because there are so many times where, I'm being the empath and then I get worked up. And then my husband, he asks me what's wrong. And then he's concerned for me because I'm concerned for my friend. And then it spreads. So, yeah, I could definitely understand what you're saying about that escalation of energy and just sucking in people that don't even need to be involved in any of that. And then the person repeats the same problem, anyways.
Yeah.
Vicious cycle.
Yep.
You know what triggered? I had a question pop up as you were describing the seven chakras. So I remember in the beginning of our conversation, you mentioned you were the seventh kid, and seventh has a significance to it. So I want to understand what that meant.
Well, it's just that through the annals of time, there have been a lot of stories about the seventh born or the seventh son or the seventh whatever. And in the healing arts, that seventh child oftentimes goes into the healing arts. Not always. It's just kind of a thing that more people knew about than I knew about. Many people said that to me. Oh, you're the seventh born. Wow, and you practice this. I was already doing this before I knew that. It's kind of, and maybe it is in the bloodline. I had three 9 times great grandmothers who were either hung or burned at the stake for being witches in Salem. And there's a monument erected for two of them in Salem,
Oh,
and they're
wow.
very real. We have all of their stories. We have it all documented. I have a copy of the parchment where the townspeople signed saying she's not a witch. She's a doctor. She helps people. But it was at a time where a woman wasn't allowed to like know more or
Yeah.
do more than a man,
Yeah.
and it was at a time when an accusation was just it. It was talk about cancel culture. That's what it was. An accusation could take you down. And so her name was Rebecca Nurse, and they said to her, if you confess, we won't burn you at the stake. We'll hang you. And she stood there and she said, "The Lord God knows I have never hurt anyone, and I will not confess. I'm a Christian woman, and all I've done is do my best to help." And they thought that was so cool and so ballsy that they still hung her. They didn't burn her, but she's still dead. I mean, it's like,
Wow.
yeah, it was a weird time. And so you could be someone who was a healer or a doctor, and yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, I think you're the first person I've ever met who has lineage that goes back to those times of someone who
My
was
family
actually.
is way into it. I had 6 ancestors on the Mayflower. So there's a lot of stuff that's documented. There's just a lot of information. It's super interesting. My family's way into it. So I, I get the benefit
Wow.
of knowing the stories.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what's also funny? Like, some stuff I've been reading about karma and, reincarnation type of things. I've heard that you get to choose the family that you're in as well. So it's like you were basically destined to do what you're doing right now. Like your family history, your lineage, you're the seventh child, and just getting into, well, you identified it as an early age. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true. Well, in the math now in physics tells us there has to be at least 10 dimensions in order for the math to work out.
Oh yeah.
So that means there are other dimensions, there are other lives, other things that could be happening, and it's all very deep, and I don't mean to open up a whole thing on your show. We can do that another day. We can talk about other things, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. All right. Okay. So we addressed the seventh child. And so with becoming a makeup artist in entertainment, what drew you to that?
I it's the kind of thing you have to have a feel for it. I really believe this. If you're a makeup artist or a hairdresser or an artist, anybody who expresses things with their hands, you either know you can do it or you can't. And I think I've seen girls train and train and train really hard to be a hairdresser that just never really had a sense of color or style, or they could get the mechanics down, but they just didn't have that seventh sense about it, that ability to just really get it and just whip up a hairdo or whip up. And I always knew that I could. I always knew that I could. So when I worked at when I worked at the Osmond studio, I I just wanted to get in the building. So I became like a secretary. I really suck at being a secretary, but I did that until I could get somebody to listen to me about being a makeup artist and put me into that department, and that finally happened.
Hmm. So would you say you were more of the creative, artistic type
Yeah,
growing up?
totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Interesting.
imaginative kid. And I believe what Einstein says, like your brains will take you so far, but really imagination will take you endless places. Those aren't his words, but that's what he meant with his famous quote about imagination. I totally believe that. I think we all have to keep that, because there are so many things now that are coming to light that maybe we don't understand, but an imagination will help you put pieces together and figure out how the bridge is connected to that, and it can really help you. It's also great when it comes to maintaining a state of well-being, being able to see it very clearly and know that that's what you want for yourself and for your body. Huge piece. You have to be able to call that up in your brain and in your intention and with your will. And yeah, it's super powerful. It is a big part of it that is underrated.
Yeah, no, it's definitely underrated. Because it's like, especially for me, I grew up in a very, I guess, logical household. And I had pullings towards arts and the creative, where I would draw. And then, like, I loved music. I taught myself how to play like basic piano. Um, but then there was also this element where it's like, I get the messaging like you need to be successful, you need to make money. So at one point, actually, it's funny, actually, at one point in my figuring out what I wanted to do after high school, I was exploring, hair and makeup school and fashion school, but it was immediately shut down. It's like, no, you're not going to make any money. So then I'm like, okay, I kind of forced myself to become more left brain, I guess you could say, where I studied pre med and economics. So super math and science. And so, like, I found myself feeling like I'm not so creative because I felt like I had to shut down a side of myself in order to develop the other side. So, what would be, I guess, your suggestions on trying to tap in to the creative, imaginative side of yourself?
I would first thing say to that, find the gratitude, like how awesome that I learned to do something that wasn't easy or natural for me. I learned this, and this will help me run a business now if I do get to do something creative. And how grateful I am that I had that teacher. That's awesome. Because believe me, there are a lot of artists who never go anywhere because they don't know how to do that. So I would first reconcile and say, okay, well, I learned that. And you come to the realization that when you meet yourself and you know what it is you really desire and what it is that you really love and are good at, when you pursue that, you have every bit of your energy going with you because your heart knows. Your brain may have thought something different at one time and thought, well, you should do this, go to this, blah, blah, blah. But your heart has always known. And when you circle back to that and say, okay, I think I'm going to get to be creative. And you listen, like clear this out and come right into this energy right here and just listen to what the heart is saying. It's the voice that doesn't use words. And on your worst day, this energy right here, right in front of your heart is amazing. It's amazing. And it has information for you and wisdom and truth about you. That's truth. This is a bunch of crap that we pick up from whatever we read and see, and someone says, well, this is a dumb thing, and then you're like, yes, it's a dumb thing. It's a lifetime of that all lives up here, but
Yeah.
this is truth. So if you can tap into that, if you can get out of this, that's your purpose. And when you find your purpose, life is just so fun and so enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Did I answer your
Mm-hmm.
question, or did I take a ride? I'm not sure. I
I think
enjoyed that question, but
I think for me, yes. But let's say it's someone that doesn't know what the heart even feels like, right? Like how do they really know that this is going to be the creative outlet for me versus, oh, that's interesting.
you can test that. Here's the thing. Do you have repeating thoughts? Do you worry a lot? Are afraid of a lot of things? Does your mind, is your head, are you up in your head all the time? That right there, if you can answer that, do you have anxiety? Are you nervous? Do you not sleep well? Okay. If we can get a few of those going, we know, okay, this energy is not being listened to. So the first step is to try to find a way where you can allow that to clear out, and never underestimate the power of learning to ground yourself intentionally. And I don't mean just walking barefoot on the grass. I mean knowing how to connect yourself as a child of this planet to Mother Earth. She is your mother. And I feel like, Jessica, I feel like one of the reasons I do what I do and speak out is because I had an amazing mother. And there were 8 children. So we had a helper in the house named Cora. I had Cora and Bess. They were angels on this. Okay, I could get all, and I won't do that. But I was raised surrounded by love and wisdom and help and support. And so many people are not. They
Mm-hmm.
are not. They go through a childhood feeling frightened and unseen and unheard. And so it is my job to help them know that Mother Earth is there and she is your mother. And when you connect yourself in a grounding cord from your root chakra in an open column of light straight down, many things will change for you. Whatever needs to go, that fear, that anxiety, it's got a place to go. And she'll be like, let me just have it, honey. Just send it down here. I got you. I'm going to just transmute that into something else. I'm here. And if you can connect to that source of support, you feel grounded and you get to where you like yourself, because all of this starts to clear out. It will just slowly start to drift down. If I could say anything to anyone, you want to learn, and this is a skill that I teach, you want to learn how to appropriately and truly ground yourself. It's more than it comes down to your psychic strength, the ability of your mind to manage and move your own energy.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And you know what really struck with me with what you just said just now is how you said that you grew up with so much love and support. You mentioned that you could talk to your dad earlier, and you actually didn't speak much about your mom. So it's actually really amazing to hear how much love and support and safety.
It was so lovely, so warm, and so loving and huggable. And yeah, and then there was Cora. So my mom worked with my dad in the business. So Cora was always in the house. And she was from the South. She was from Arkansas, and she was half Cherokee Indian. And you know the movie The Help? I
Mhm.
cannot even, with that movie, I can't even get through it without just ugly crying and uncontrollable. That Cora spoke to me that way. She called me child. Child,
Mm.
you is special, child. Child, don't you worry, child. You know, and she would say things like cut the light off instead of turn the light off. Cut the
Yeah.
light off, child. You know, oh, adore, adore. I mean, I was just with that all day, and so grateful. And I realize my responsibility because that is not the case for every adult woman.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there are ways to feel that now in your life now for the next part of your life. You can feel that every moment and every day if you know how to connect to it.
Hmm. I find there's times where, I'll get into like a meditative state and then I'm just talking like really lovingly to myself where there's times where I do feel like that warmth and that motherly love just like settle onto me, so then it gives me a glimpse of what that, having that true full spectrum of love and support, what that could have looked like. And then, I try to harness that and keep those feelings as I'm going, throughout my day to day. So, it's incredible that you had that.
It is really doable. In fact, is it okay if I offer a gift to your listeners right now,
Sure.
since
Yeah.
we're talking about this?
Yeah.
Um, I teach face yoga on Tuesdays, and yes, it's about reverse aging, but it's also about balancing your own centers, and it's very much about just connecting. And those feelings that you were just describing, you made me think of that. And I would just like to offer anyone who's listening a free class. Class is normally $20. So if you can reach me at excuse me, hey Loa, you can reach me at heyloa.com and just message me and I'll send you the link and you can just join for free and practice with us because that's what we're practicing is balancing through the centers, grounding, and that is very much about your face. And we do face yoga too. It's called face fitness. So I just offer that if you want to reach out, heyloa.com. I'm easy to find. I'm heyloa everywhere.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's so funny. I feel like we have we could talk about so many different topics. Um, but I want to go back to your journey, right? So we spoke about your time as a makeup artist in LA and how you picked up, or actually you developed more of your energy reading and identifying what's going on with people, what's going on in their body energetically and physically. So how did you transition out of the entertainment industry and then getting into everything that you have going on today?
I think it was so helpful for me to practice reading energy in such a high stress environment because now here we've come through time, we've had the pandemic, we've had all these things, so many people are struggling with anxiety, and it's kind of helping people with that has become my specialty. And so that has really um, it was a really wonderful training ground. It was a high stakes thing. I loved it. I did it for 35 years. I flew in a lot of Learjets. I went to a lot of beautiful places. I touched the most beautiful faces of our time that went all through those 35 years. And it was an amazing experience. But when it was done, I felt done. I felt
Mm.
done. It was like, okay, we closed that. Now we're going to move into this. And I was raising kids at the same time, too. It was a great job to raise your family, too, because I never had to go to work. Whenever I had a gig, it was like, can you go for these days? And I'd be like, yeah, I can be there. Or no, my kids have got this. So it was wonderful for that. And I when when time was done with it, I was done with it. I felt it. I felt really clear that I've learned everything I need to learn there. And I'm old enough to have, I'm 66. Like I said, I'm old enough to have had more than one career.
Hmm.
That's the beauty of it. So you're never, time is never up. There's always a new chapter coming.
Yeah, that's a great message because, like, at least for me, I'm always like, I gotta do it right now. I don't know. I think it's just because of the field I went into is project management, but
Yeah, but like, let's look at how that helped you. You have that now. So
Mhm.
now it's a matter of just find out what is Jessica about? How does she really feel? When you get this noise out in your meditations, just listen. Just listen and let yourself kind of drift down and then see if you can just listen here. Listen here.
Yeah.
It's all connected through the throat. So this is your fifth energy center here. This is about your voice and your expression and your ability to say what needs to be said and to say what you want to say. And it's also thyroid function and neck and shoulder issues and all of that. That's here.
Mhm.
So your brain is being connected, sixth chakra, to the body via this amazing place, this throat chakra right here. So right below that, now you're in the heart. So you've got this connection. You're going to go from all of this, it's going to take you right there. But we've got to keep balance in the body and in the
Yeah.
spirit and just self care. And
Yeah.
that's the name of the game. And so that will help you to be able to just come down here and listen.
Hmm.
It's the
Yeah. The term self
timeless
care,
words.
I've definitely redefined what that meant over this past year, you know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
And
So,
that's what we do, like the retreat coming up in November. And I don't mean to just like bring that up like, oh, surprise, but that's what that is. It's like sometimes you have to take time. You have to set aside time and say, this is what I'm doing. You're important. Like you're so valuable and so needed that taking that time for yourself just to kind of reconnect and kind of take out that stuff that's not true, that's just all over, coming at you from like darts from everywhere. Just release
mhm.
that. Just come back to where you are, who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. So what does I guess on your journey, do you do you have a vision of where you see yourself in, I don't know, however many time, or would you say you live each moment right now and you just receive what the universe brings in front of you? I guess how do you go about navigating your life and what your success journey looks like and feels like?
I don't know that you have to decide. I think if once you understand that your energy is expanding, for me, that's all I need to know. I don't know why. I've always had just a little bit of trouble with the word journey. I've never really felt like I'm journeying. I've always been an explorer. I feel like an explorer in my heart, and I will just continue to try to understand and learn. But and now that I've had one career, then I was a makeup artist, then I ran the wellness camp. Now my practice now is everything, and all of those things, every moment of that made me better at this. It taught me this. And I feel like we need to keep that in mind with gratitude and with appreciation for those teachers and events that we go, oh, okay, I'll do that differently, or I will do that just like that. Or
Hmm. Interesting. You said exploring versus journey. Huh.
that's just me. I don't, anybody can say journey if they want, totally fine. I don't
Hmm.
know why it feels like when it comes out of my mouth. I'm like, I don't really feel like
Yeah. Well, I think it's fitting that yours is more of an exploration. Because for me, when I use the word journey, it means that I'm still offloading a lot of things.
Yeah, it means you started somewhere and you got to go somewhere. Well, I
Yeah.
don't want that. I don't want to never be where I'm going. I am here. I'm here. I'm in it. 0 point center of me radiates out. I am in my purpose. I got that. I got that. I am grounded. That's what I teach. That's what I do. So for me, I feel like I think I just explained why I don't like the word journey. I felt good about that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's
that's
good. It's
maybe that's
good.
it. Thank you for pressing me on that. I needed to put that. I needed to verbalize that. I think.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. So some of the nerd topics, there's the NLP, right? So the neuro linguistic programming. So I'm very I'm becoming more and more particular about the type of words I use to describe myself. So when you say journey versus exploration, I understand because in some aspects I do feel like I'm exploring things that I never really had a chance to explore. But then when I use the word journey, I feel like I need to not dump my past, but like get rid of the emotional signature that may be sitting in my body still. So that's what I mean when I say journey, because it's just a journey
Mhm.
of letting go of a lot of things.
And maybe for someone who feels like they have left that place and they're so grateful they've left it, the journey is appropriate. But let me.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be fine. I don't begrudge anybody using that word. Comes back to the fifth chakra. Words have meaning and they have power. And that's how you put your expression. You and I are speaking English. If we were in another country, we would speak something else. But
Mm-hmm.
we express ourselves in an exchange through verbalizing what it is we feel. So then that comes back to this place of expression, this fifth energy center. It runs clockwise like this. It's right here, base of the throat. That small but mighty energy center on the body, like I said, connects brain to all things body. So you got to think about, how can I keep this healthy and strong? Things that are really devastating to the fifth chakra are gossip, yelling, criticizing, being quiet when you need to honestly, kindly say something,
Mm-hmm.
um, lying, using your voice for something not honest. All of that just diminishes that function. And that's your thyroid. Now we're talking about your hormones. So
Mm-hmm.
let's kind of keep that balance and that flow. And when you approach it that way, it's so much easier to control your voice, to say clearly what you want to say. And I find it so interesting that some people, they have different voices that they use. Some people are up here and they're in the top of their throat, and that's how they talk. And yet, if they would relax their voice and let the tension go out, their voice would be here. And some people are lazy, their voice is down here. Like, it's, you want to find that natural place for your voice, where your voice is really expressing. You're a freaking podcaster, you know this. I'm sure you've already done this exercise, but this is for people listening. You want your voice to be authentically you. It sounds like you, and you feel good about what you say because it's honest and it's true and it's kind, and it comes from your source of love. And that's how you heal this whole center. That's how this flows right through to this. Then this starts to brighten up, and you're like, oh, I know what I love. I know where I want to go and what I want to do. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. There's so much about the body and energy that I'm literally just learning even the past couple of weeks. It's funny. I actually started taking singing lessons at my husband's school, and my teacher, I love her. I love her. Her name is Catherine Alexander. She's a opera singer by trade. And, when we have our lessons, like she has me stretching my neck and opening up my chest, like, and being aware of the different muscles that I'm using while I'm singing.
Okay, can I
Like,
add to that? Can
mm-hmm,
I add to
mm-hmm,
that?
mm-hmm,
When you're with her, just remember that you're moving energy from here up through here, and she's got all the muscle tricks and the diaphragm and all that. But for you, you're just going to radiate through the heart. So let's watch my body. See where I'm at right here?
mm-hmm,
It just opens. So you could reach over, take your thumb, just release all that fascia right there. Bump, bump, bump. Just
mm-hmm,
do that both sides. Let them
mm-hmm,
flow back, open through the heart. And just now, now you're ready to connect through here, then do everything else she says. So
Yeah.
that's the energy medicine practice before a voice lesson.
Oh, that's so funny. She like on her last lesson, she literally had me open my arms to the side, like so I could
Nice.
project my voice out. Like
Yes, that's so great. That's so
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
That's
I
amazing.
had a couple of voice lessons once a long time ago, and she said, "This is so funny." She said, "I remind her of Pat Benatar."
Oh my god.
Oh, that
Lola, I
cracked me up.
don't know who
I
Pat
know,
is.
right? It's from okay. That's your assignment. Go play a Pat Benatar song, and you'll be like, "What?"
Okay. Pat, I'm literally writing this down.
Oh, it just made me laugh. I was like, "Oh my goodness."
Oh, that's
Yeah, see,
awesome.
that's part of what's so awesome about being my age and at this place in life is that I have reference points that just keep going back. You know, I knew all four Beatles. I was in the first grade when the Beatles had their first hit. Like, you know what I mean? I
Oh
have those
wow.
reference points. It's so fun to have that. So never
Yeah.
give up. Whoever's listening, the good stuff is coming.
That's amazing. Oh my goodness. So thank you so much for coming on my show. I loved our conversation, and I feel
I'm
like
so glad to meet you, Jessica. And we met, of course, through the amazing Joe Ingram, who we both adore. Joe, stop listening. We love you. Okay, now stop. Just Joe's going, I know. It's awesome. But I'm so happy that he introduced us. You are just wonderful. I love your energy, and you are so wise in so many ways that you just made my day with a couple of
oh,
your own personal observations. Yes, it's awesome. It really, honestly, it just does my heart good when I meet people who are tuning in or who are tuned in. You know, it's so awesome.
thank you so much, Loa. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. If
I
anyone
have,
needs me, I'm at heyloa.com. I'm so easy to find.
and I want you to share. If you could give someone who's just starting out with just developing awareness within themselves, their emotions, their energy, how their body feels, what would be your top three pieces of advice for those people?
To recap what I said earlier, learn to ground, intentionally ground. You won't find it on the internet. You have to have a practitioner who knows how to do it. That's game changer. That's just a game changer. And then I would start to get in touch with what you're feeling. Write it down. What emotions are you having? What's going through your mind over and over? What's a repetitive thought? Because emotion at the end of the day is underlying all of this. And then you just begin to show yourself some compassion. That's self-care, morning sunshine, plenty of water, and get to bed on time. All of those little acts of self-love, that's where this starts.
Wonderful. Oh, this was
And
one
come to the
amazing.
retreat if you can, because we're going to put
Yes,
all of that, we're going to dial that up on crack. Not really on
I'm
crack.
really interested. I'm really interested.
And all the information is at heyloa.com. And everybody here gets a free class of face fitness because we're going to do some energy balancing in that, and you'll get to experience that. But you have to message me through my website, heyloa.com. Send me a message, and I'll be like, oh, okay, you heard Jessica's show? Great.
Wonderful. And I'm going to include all of that information in the description. So check the description. You'll have all of Lois' social media links and her website. So please reach out. I want everyone to be connected and be their
Yes,
best self.
yes, indeed. Jessica, you are special. You really are. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for having me. It's just my pleasure.